May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings love life. May all beings awaken. Welcome to another Cuke Audio Podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, preserving the legacy of Shunryu Suzuki and those whose paths cross his. And anything else that comes to mind. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable, free from economic hardship, and able to get out and do whatever it is you want within the limitations of the universal precept of do as little harm as possible. So today we have a guest, Brit Pyland, and he's an early Zen student by today's reckoning. I think he came same year I did, 1966. And he's living in Oakland now, or Berkeley, over there. They run together. And he has some things to share with us. So after our pause to meditate, let's give him a call. So when you hear the bell, if you're of such a mind, hit pause, and we'll meditate or whatever for as long as you want. And when you're ready, hit unpause, and we'll end the meditation or whatever, and give Brit Pyland a call.
Hello?
Brett, David.
Is this Kelly Chadwick's father?
It is indeed.
It is. The Zen guy?
Well, sort of.
Sometimes. I remember you.
Well, what's happening with you?
What's happening with me? Well, let me think. I'm okay, basically. Let's see, what can I say? I guess most recently I'm feeling a little bit reduced. Death of two friends. Well, Layla Smith Bockhorst, who was very sweet. She was a good friend at Tassel Harbor. She was when I was at Doan, she was kind of the main person that helped me and trained me, and we spent a lot of time together. And always enjoyed her sweet company, and I enjoyed the company. Actually, I ran the phone line with the gym one full day. It was down, and you know how you go down and try to find the break and repair it.
Yeah.
And anyway, we had. And I was the one that was honored by carrying the 60-pound loop of wire up that hill. To the junction box. It was a good exercise, but it was hard. Anyway, it was fun, and we had a good time, basically. I think my memory is almost any time you had a way to change the schedule and, get away and do something else, it was sort of fun, whatever it was.
Oh, that's true. That's
true. That was my experience. I remember one night Shunko and I had fun going to find Ari Kamazar, who had gotten lost with Nancy.
Who?
Jack Kamazar's son, Ari.
Oh, really?
Was with Nancy Sheldon, and they went hiking, and she got lost. It was dark, and so Shunko and I spent the night. We found them. They were fine. They were just cold. And
where were they?
Kind of up kind of up by the hogback, beyond the hogback.
Yeah.
It was dark, and they didn't have flashlights, and and she didn't actually know the way that, well, I think.
She's from New York, Jack, isn't she?
Pardon?
She's from New York City. Nancy.
What about her?
Isn't she from New York City?
Oh, I don't remember where she's from. Anyway, I always enjoyed her.
Well, the reason I said that, Brit, is because I was involved with a lot of searches, and the number of people from New York City that got lost in the woods was amazing. It was like they were used to a grid, and they'd hike over the hogback, the windy creek, get to the other side, and they wouldn't know which way to go to get back.
Well, I'd taken lots of hikes, so I knew the territory. I think Shuko had also done that, and so it was pretty familiar. It was just a question. We were relieved to find that we had flashlights, and gave him a jacket. And anyway, Jack and Dahlia were forever grateful to us.
Oh yeah, that's neat. Yeah.
But again, it's another example. It was actually kind of fun, even though it wasn't fun for the Camisards. But so let's see, what did I have in? Well, anyway, so I guess I was about to say I'm feeling, what should I say, reduced by losing these two friends.
Who's the other one?
Charles McDermott, who you probably knew slightly.
Oh yeah. He died, huh?
You interviewed him, yeah. He was a close friend for many, many years. In fact, he was the person. I was standing in Moe's one afternoon, and he comes up and he said, "Well, you want to go hear Suzuki?" And I said, "Oh, D2 Suzuki?" He said, "No, the other one." And he took me over to the old place on, the synagogue place on Laguna.
No, Bush Street. Bush and Laguna.
Bush Street. Yeah.
So Koji.
And we got there a little bit late. We were sitting among a jumble of shoes in the back. And anyway, I didn't get a whole lot out of that talk by Suzuki Roshi. I think he was saying, oh, you're interested in psychology and you're interested in LSD. And as it happened, I wasn't very interested in LSD. And I remember there was a story about, someone supposedly gave Suzuki Roshi some acid?
Yeah, there's stories like that.
Yeah. I was not really convinced that he actually took it, even though he did.
I would agree.
He said bang, bang. I mean, it's possible, Who knows?
I've heard, it was important to some people to think he'd taken it. I can't see him doing that. But the bang, bang comment he made was when Daniel Agee gave him a hash brownie or something like that without him knowing.
Oh.
And he and Mitsu went back to the temple, and I think that was it. Anyway, I can't remember. There are stories like that. There was a guy named Bob who said he gave him a tab of acid. Bob, who was involved with the Straight Theater. God, I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember his last name, but I do remember him. And I remember that story. And
he told me Suzuki flushed it down the toilet.
Oh, that he actually saw him do that?
No.
He just guessed that.
Or Suzuki told him.
Who knows?
Yeah.
It's quite possible that just didn't, there's, who's that other, Kareem Baba, who some student gave him acid and it didn't do anything to him.
Yeah, he was supposed to have taken like 5 5 full doses. Although with acid, if you took more, it really didn't have more effect, I don't think. I mean, after you took 500 mics, I don't know how much more you could do, but I'm not sure. Anyway, various people have said various things about that, but it was, there's really nothing came of it anyway.
Yeah, well, it's not important, but I'm still grateful for acid because it got me into sitting a roundabout way.
Oh, me too. Yeah, sure.
Although I think it was an obstacle in some way too, in that I was trying to recreate a similar condition in sitting, rather than just seeing what happens, and that was probably an obstacle for a while. And it took me a while. I forget maybe it's Philip who tipped me off to kind of drop that one. Philip had psilocybin, I think, and some mushroom. He'd never taken acid.
Which Philip are you talking about now?
Philip Whalen.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. He was a great friend and teacher to me. Best example of generosity I've ever experienced. He got to be terribly blind, and he needed someone to, walk with him when he went to like the grocery store to get a bite to eat or something. And so I was doing that one night, late afternoon, and there's some kid on the sidewalk who was begging. I think he might have had a cup out, and Philip had a little change purse that he used, for when he went shopping. And rather than picking out, coins and giving it to him, which would have been what I would have done, he just dumped the whole purse in the kid's, cup. No fuss, no muss. It was a great teaching for me because it was so. I mean, it wasn't something he thought about; it just did it. It's probably one of the best teachings of generosity that I've experienced. And anyway, I learned a lot from. We shared a flat, remember, in San Francisco for a while in Noe Valley before he moved to Hartford Street.
Oh.
Yeah, we had it was on Sanchez and 28th, and it was a lower flat. And on Friday morning, we would have a sitting, not very well attended, but like a half hour zazen, and we'd clear out the living room. And I remember Jack Camisar frequently came, and Dennis Kelly would come. And
Dennis Kelly came?
Not the Zen guy. My friend, the cookbook writer, Dennis Kelly.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Dennis with one end. Yeah, I met Jinpo, Dennis Kelly, at Tassajara, and I liked him actually.
Yeah. Tell me what you remember about that.
Well, I remember he had this beautiful, slim, blonde girlfriend with him, and we talked about her, and I much admire her. And he would say things like, "The closer to the bone, the sweeter the meat." And I was treasurer that summer, and I was sitting, I guess, at the computer in the front, which was next to the donation box, and I saw her out of the corner of my eye try to slip in surreptitiously and put something in the box, and I picked it out. It was a $500 bill, which I later brought. Which I think you were there. I later brought it to Shosan.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I was there, but I remember you telling me that. In an interview earlier or something, and I looked it up because I don't ever remember seeing a $500 bill, and I believe that was the last year they were in circulation. It was something like 1972, I think, when I was actually living in the city, and he was a guest of Alan Marlowe there. You remember that?
I remember Alan too. I liked it. Anyway, I liked Jinpo. We had some nice talks, and I thought he was pretty okay as a Zen person too. Anyway, he was fun, and his girlfriend was certainly beautiful.
Yeah, he was very generous with Zen Center, a lot more than $500. He was a major LSD manufacturer.
Yeah, I remember he and the LSD that I got was from who was that other guy? More famous.
Owsley?
Yeah, Owsley. Yeah, that was some friends of mine had a cabin in the Honda Woods right next to Ken Kesey, and that was the connection, and that was how. And one of my second acid trip was outside around the fireplace at night, and anyway, that was good. And then there was a bird. I was looking up through the trees, and it was still a little bit light, and a bird kind of flew through this circle that I could see. It was an amazing event. And I also remember how beautiful the Budweiser cans looked. They had a lot of red and blue and white, and they were actually rather beautiful. Anyway, that was that, and I went on from there, and haven't had any LSD in a long, long time, and doubt that I ever will again.
Yeah.
But it did get me into setting me up to be open to sitting, I think, and open to things that could happen in sitting, and so there was that. And let's see, what else? Oh yeah, I was just saying I was feeling reduced by losing these two friends, because we had these shared experiences that only, Layla and I and Charles and I knew about, just shared experiences that were private. And by losing them, it's sort of like that part of my life is somehow, I don't know exactly how to describe it, but slipped aside. I really liked Layla. She was very sweet and very helpful to me and training me to do the Doan, the Kokyo stuff right.
She was helpful to me too. Through the years, even recently. She did a transcription of a Suzuki Roshi lecture that hadn't yet been transcribed, that was, discovered at Zen Center a couple of years ago for us, I don't know, 6 months ago or something.
Oh, I think you did an interview with me, and I think she transcribed that.
Yeah, she did lots of transcribing for me. Some of it paid, but most of it free. Lots. Going back to the 90s.
Anyway, she was very sweet. And Charles was quite a good friend. We had, as I said, he was the first person who took me to hear Suzuki Roshi. And then later there was a little circle, and I sat right next to Oksan. Probably a place reserved for a senior student, but there was a circle of around maybe 30 students afterwards for tea and cookies, and there were those heavy tea treats that they used to serve.
What year was that?
Well, that would have been 1965, maybe. Let's see. Yeah. No, wait a minute. Probably about 1965. Anyway, so I was hungry and I hadn't had dinner, so I took two. I seemed to be the only person who did that, and then it turned out something that was not what I expected. I was trying to hide it in a napkin. So the Suzuki Roshi couldn't see that. And later, Charles took me to visit Norman Spiegelmeier, who was a quite good artist.
Oh, yeah.
You remember him?
Oh, yeah.
And he was happy to take the treats off of my hands. Later, I learned to like them, but it was not what I had expected.
Huh.
And,
I wonder what they were.
It was kind of very sweet. I remember.
It was
very
Japanese.
Dark.
If it was 65, It was Japanese.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It was very dark, and it was like kind of too sweet or something. It was kind of a weird sweet.
Uh-huh.
Not what I was hoping for, anyway. Anyway, I remember being embarrassed and trying to cover it up in the napkins. Probably didn't fool anybody. And let's see, what else? Where are we?
You were way back in 65. That's good. Yeah. Any little detail is interesting. I mean, that's interesting sitting in the circle around there. And there were no reserved seats. It was fine for you to sit there.
Well, I don't have no idea, but I assume that because I was so close to Suzuki Roshi, it was probably for someone senior, but who knows? I remember, I think I was there as a guest student for just a couple of days, and
wait a minute. You were where as a guest student?
At Tassajara.
Oh, yeah. All right. You're back there now.
And it was just like a couple of days. And I think at the time, I figured that would be all I needed to get into it. I seem to have exaggerated the reality of that. But anyway, I was, of course, having a lot of difficulty with, crossing my legs and that sort of thing. And I remember at the end of that, Dan Welch came up and first serve it was Marion Mountain. We were sitting. There was some kind of redheaded student of Coben's that I was sitting next to, and
male or female?
A female.
Harriet, who Coben married.
Yeah, later. Anyway, I remember she disappeared for about 20 minutes. My heart just sank. I thought she had dropped out, but she came back. I guess she just, went to a bathroom or something. And then I remember Marion at a certain point said, "You can turn around now and have your tea treat."
Oh, Marion Derby.
Marion Derby. And she gave us a treat. I was glad to uncross my legs and relax a little bit. And then Dan Welch came later, and I remember I'd been helping to paint the baths that afternoon with Silas. And Silas said, "You guys go off and go to service, and I'll finish up." I think he just put the brushes in, turpentine or something, planning to come back later. And Dan comes up and says, "At Tassajara, Britain, we always finish our work."
Ha
But I was happy to go work with Dan, even though he was saying that as kind of a put down, I think.
Yeah, something I remember about Silas and painting back then You're talking about really early, like 67, when we were first there. We
were still working on the kitchen at the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That went on a couple of years. But I remember Silas, his idea of paint cleanup would be, like you said, if it was oil-based, just to put the brushes in some paint thinner,
Yeah.
And there were others, like Dan, who thought, no, you should clean the brushes every day.
So I got that lesson, but I was happy to just work with him, so I didn't mind at all going to do that. And then later, I actually became quite close to Dan. We when we took over the Whole Earth store, he was the manager and I was the book buyer, and we would take these trips down to the old Whole Earth catalog store.
Menlo Park.
Menlo Park, yeah. And I think Ben Gage was one, and then Anna was a good friend of Dan's at that point. And
Anna who?
Anna Thorne? No, what was her last name?
The one who married Jordan Thorne?
No, not Thorne.
Anna Hawken?
Hawken, yeah. Married Paul Hawken.
They were already married then. This is the Whole Earth store. My God, you're talking now about 1980, around there?
Probably. We had fun. We were tasked with running around trying to find another location from it in San Francisco or someplace closer to where people were. And
where was this store you're talking about?
Well, we never found a place.
There wasn't one.
Yeah, well, I think the place at Fort Mason had been promised to the Mexican Museum. So
that's right. Yeah.
They had it just for a short time, and I remember that, and I remember what else was happening. Oh yeah, Kaz Tanahashi was a really great mentor to me. He would take me out to the museum, the old Asian museum by the park.
Yeah.
And
the DeYoung.
He taught me a lot. One thing, he thought the value of that connection was that it had ordinary things as well as just masterpieces.
Yeah.
He thought that was very important context. And I remember there was some book that he got me to read called The Unknown Craftsman. Do you remember that book?
I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
Anyway, I think it was named by someone named Agata. So Kaz took me there. I also remember Inku that made like 100,000 little. Well, there was a chest out there that had
made 100,000 carvings of like Bodhidharma.
Right? Was it Bodhidharma? I think it was of. I think it was Buddha, maybe. But he would make little chip like 2 or 3 strokes would make, and that was very impressive to me.
Yeah,
they really were present as little Buddhas, and there was a chest that certainly must have had 1,000 of these little 1-inch Buddhas in them, and Kaz pointed those out, and I started taking photographs of him doing brush work, and he got me started a little bit into doing a little bit of brush work. I never got very skilled at it, but I got to the point where I was able to accept my clumsy attempts as being okay, just as they were, which was a good lesson that he taught me. But Kaz was really quite wonderful and taught me a lot, and we had fun too. We would go to have lunch and go to the museum and probably other places too.
Mm. Yeah, Enko did Buddhas. You're right. 120,000 wooden statues of the Buddha and other Buddhist icons. Wow.
Yeah, I had a neighbor friend when I was living on at the studio on Marin. An artist friend, just adored that. I got to know quite well, and I showed her the Enku stuff and all the stuff that Kaz had written, and
we got disconnected here, which happens. I thought his phone had, the battery had died, but no. Sometimes Skype just hangs up, and so I got back in touch, and so we talked a little bit, and then we got into talking about our iPhones because he'd bought he hadn't had a phone for a while, and he got an iPhone SE, which is smaller and it's like the cheapest new one, and it's what Katrinka and I both had. So we talked about that, and then he went on to say,
I'm happy with it, and especially I'm happy to have a phone. There's a house phone here, but you can't count on that. This is, I don't know, I guess you don't know where I am. I'm at a small board and care facility by Lake Barrett called Lakeshore Board and Care. It's got 34 rooms, and it's not a very good place. I would like to, I'm actually negotiating to go, try to get something else. But anyway, they bring me not very good food on a regular basis, and it's the other inmates here. There are 34 rooms, and they're kind of out of it. Just pretty. There's only like maybe one or two people I could have a conversation with. The people I talk to are the certified nurse assistants that are very friendly and good. About 6 or 7 of those, and we're very friendly, and those are the people that I talk to, really. And some of them are kind of fun, but as I say, most of the other residents are pretty dysfunctional, and they don't wear a mask when they're out of their room, for example, and you couldn't get them to do that. Or even, I try to do that to set an example. And
when were you born?
When was I born? I was born February 10th, 1940 in San Antonio.
I was born February 9th in Fort Worth.
That's right. Yeah, I now we share that birthday date. And you were born in Fort Worth?
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know you were born in, or I probably did know, but I forgot you were born in San Antonio.
Yeah. Well, I lived there until I was 8. It was a beautiful town. I really loved San Antonio.
I agree.
It has this river walk, and we had this. The family had this African American maid, Alma, who would take me out once a week, and we were pals. And she would take me to the movies, and we'd have to sit up in the balcony with all the, non-white people. And I remember white and black bathrooms and white and black fountains. And, but Alma was great. We had a good time. So we would go on these river walks, and we'd have lunch, and then she would take me over. This was sort of off. This wasn't what was part of the official visit, but she would take me to this hotel dining room to meet her boyfriend, and he would teach me how to play the piano, and they would visit, and we had a great time.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and she knew I wasn't going to rat her out, but we had a really nice relationship. I really loved her, and I got exposed to the ugly side of,
We had an African American made from when I came home from the hospital till I was 12 years old, and she was a very important part of my childhood.
We really cared for each other, and she was quite wonderful. And I remember my mother was always complaining about her, how Alma was robbing her blind. Probably meant she was taking soap or something like that, you know. She was probably so underpaid, I expect. Anyway,
really.
Sorry, she was so taken advantage of. But anyway, we had a good time, especially when we got to the hotel dining room with her boyfriend. And but San Antonio was a very beautiful place, as I remember it then. Walking around, you know, that river walk. Now it's kind of upscale and you know, expensive gondola. No, maybe not expensive, but gondolas and kind of upscale restaurants and coffee shops and things like that are there now, but they weren't there at that time. But I remember I loved going to the movies with her, and there was a lot of movie palaces in San Antonio at that time. Surprisingly, there was one called the Aztec, and in the middle of the main room there was this big, maybe it was about 18 inches high and maybe. Maybe 30 foot in diameter. And it was an Aztec sacrificial stone.
Oh, wow.
And I would, you know, sneak over the little, those little, you know, ropes that they would have and get on top of it and have fun. And, but there were a number of movie palaces. I remember, I got to see Trigger on stage. My. Roy Rogers and Dale. I was sitting in the front. I was sure she had a crush on me. I was like, you know, 8 years old, but she was looking right at me, and I was quite enamored with her.
Are you talking about Trigger or Dale?
I'm talking about.
Dale Evans, Roy Rogers' wife.
She's very pretty. But anyway, Trigger was up there, Roy was up there, and that was sort of fun. And somehow or another, I didn't get together with Dale after all. But
that's sad.
I was sure she was interested in me.
Do you know what happened to Trigger?
Well, I don't know what happened to Trigger.
When Trigger died, Roy Rogers had him taxidermied.
Oh, right, yeah. You know, well, Trigger was very much alive on this occasion, and that was I was into these Saturday afternoon cowboy serials. I remember, I think Hopalong Cassidy was the one that I really liked, and the Lone Ranger, and those were fun. And I remember one time I had the measles and couldn't go, and I was really bereft. You know, you weren't supposed to have light in your eyes, and I missed about 2 weeks as one of those, things. But I caught up. So let's move on to what?
That was good. I enjoyed that. Yeah, Saturday movies were an important part of my childhood, and we would walk. You know, we could walk. We were free to walk around as little tiny kids. You know, we walked to me and my friends. We'd walk to the theater at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, 25 cents. Be like an hour of cartoons and then Schwartz and then 2 movies.
It was 9 cents. When I was outraged when I moved to LA and they were charging 25 cents.
Oh, yeah, because you're 5 years younger than me. So 25 cents to you was outrageous.
I was used to paying 9 cents. but 25 cents, I had it. I actually had an allowance that covered it. But,
wow, 9 cents for a movie. Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh. That's just...
Well, that was fun. And yeah, at that time I was living in LA in the Wilshire district, kind of near the Ambassador Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the Ambassador Hotel?
No.
No. It was a kind of fancy, that was the place that Bobby Kennedy was shot.
Mm.
It was a kind of high-end hotel, for the carriage trade, and it had a very nice restaurant in it that I could. But that was my first job. I was 12 years old, and the tennis pro, they had a very good tennis shop there, and I think he was a bit of an alcoholic, and he didn't like to show up at noon, and so I would come in and open the shop and maybe start stringing some rackets. I think he never really paid me money. He paid me in free lessons and a racket now and then. But
that's
mind.
Excellent. That's worth more than money. Did you play much tennis when you were a kid?
Oh yeah. Well, this guy was a quite good. He probably over-taught me. So I got too fixed on following the rules and didn't really let go. I didn't learn to really let go until later. I was actually at Zen Center, and Isan used to let me watch his TV, and there was some kind of a Zen tennis show that was on once a week.
Oh, really?
And the trick there was he taught people to vocalize bounce, hit, bounce, hit. And by vocalizing it, you could really let loose. And so I got into more, just to swing loose and have more fun and really let go. So I was never really great, but I was, because I had all these lessons, I was, fairly okay. And, but this court was, the Davis Cup, the Australian Davis Cup team would come and play on these courts, and I was a big thrilled to get to meet them. And this was in the years when, remember Borg?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he was my favorite, and McEnroe was great, but I don't know, he was something about his vibe didn't.
Good Lord, yeah, I can sure understand that.
Well, later I got to respect. I mean, that was just part of his MO, and but that was a great era for tennis. And
you remember Pancho Gonzalez and Lou Hode?
Oh, sure, yeah, I saw him too. Yeah, I saw all these people.
Yeah, I ball boyed for Pancho Gonzalez and Lou Hode.
Wow.
I was just once when they were in town playing at a demonstration. They were going around the country, and I played tennis as a kid, and every day, I go to the country club and play tennis. And they were going around the country and playing many. The two of them were playing singles to see who'd win. After 100 matches, and then there was a doubles with Gonzalez and Pancho Segura and Lou Hode and somebody else, I forget. And it was great.
I saw a lot of those matches myself, not live, but I guess on TV. But that was a lot of fun. And I played. I wasn't on the tennis team in high school because I was running track, and you couldn't do both. But after, in the summer, I would play all summer long in that hot Sacramento, 100-degree.
Oh, you were in Sacramento, huh?
Yeah, I was going to Sacramento High, and I was running track. I was on a quite good. We were the best team in Northern California, except for the San Francisco teams, which we never, competed against. But I I was the third best person on my team, and I always got thirds in the track meets because I could never beat the top two. But when it got to be the mile relay, we set like meet records, and we got to go to the California relays where all these Olympics athletes, Bob Mathias, I remember we didn't compete against them, but we would be like the warm-up acts, and but it was fun to run those relays, and because there was one guy who was just so good, all we had to do is not drop the baton. I mean, we had to be good, but I was never a superstar, quarter miler. I could, maybe run 51 seconds or something like that, which is, respectable, but not in, not state meet quality. But so we got some glory. We got big statues, and someplace I still have a little gold glove with a red, white, and blue ribbon on it. I don't know where it is. It's stored away with someplace or other. Most of my things are in storage these days.
Uh-huh.
The place I'm in, it's a shared room, and my own personal space is it's like about I don't know, 8 feet by 12 feet. Not it's small. I don't, and so there's no room for most of my stuff is in storage. I don't know if I'll ever get it out, but so I'm looking around to find a better place. But right now, I don't meet the minimum income for this one place that I would like to get to, and I'm trying to work with this nice woman there to try to figure out how to, finagle that.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah. It looks. Well, I haven't seen this place. The place I really wanted, was called Strawberry Creek Lodge, and it was. I was on the wait list for about 3 or 4 years, and they sent me a notice that I didn't get until 2 weeks beyond the final deadline. But that was a place that had graded, they had, as you needed more help, they would put you in a different section of the place, and they had meals there, and they'd take people out. It was definitely the high-end place. And so I got this notice that I was accepted, but unfortunately, it didn't get forwarded to me in time to, cut the deal. Yeah, too bad.
Well, did you get back on the wait list?
No, the wait list was closed. I asked them to take mercy on me, and they never could find it. Well, it was. I'm sure the wait list was, longer than, Anyway, no, they didn't let me back in, and anyway, that was too bad. But so there's this place on what is it? Shattuck and something or other. Maybe Martin Luther King.
Mm-hmm.
That has 34 units. So my friend's going to take me over and take a look at the place, and we'll maybe figure out a way. Maybe I have some money saved up, which doesn't count in terms of what they want. They want actual income. So maybe I could give my friend $600, and he could guarantee, $200 a month. So I get 2 friends to do that and meet their minimum, if it turns out I like the place. But it sounds like a pretty okay place. It's right downtown, and it'd be convenient for, shopping and getting food and things like that. And hi, my friend's here with my eye drops. I have rather advanced. You can take the tray. Thank you. I have fairly advanced acute glaucoma.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, well, I've had it for a long time. It's good doctors at Kaiser. And this one doctor puts this an experimental little flange in my eye to promote drainage. And it turns out that was recalled because it causes the cornea to thicken. But my doctor thinks it probably won't affect me because of where it was placed. I had cataract surgery, which was great. I see better now without glasses than I did before with glasses. And so I was grateful to get that out of the way and made it more possible to drive at night. But now I've sold my car, so I'm not going to be using that, anymore. Let's see. Anyway, this place is okay. The food, I was hoping the food, it's run by Indian couple. I'd hoped the food might be kind of spicy and interesting, but it turns out it's very bland and uninteresting. Breakfast is the best meal, and the rest are tolerable. And I can buy, I have a bunch of health nuts and pecans and things like that to supplement me if the food's not very good some night. But anyway, this place is okay, but it's, as I say, I'm not going to make any friends here, but chances are at this other place I would be able to meet some, friends and relate to them. They actually have a meditation group, apparently, probably once a week, something like that.
Yeah.
And I still sit, but it's hard. I'm wheelchair bound, and the chair's a little too low to be able to sit properly. I've tried various things like putting cushions under it, but anyway, it's just that's the way it is. And maybe if I get to this other place, I'll rent another wheelchair that'll be a little better. But I can't really feel like I'm sitting properly in this wheelchair, which and it turns out I often just fall asleep. Unfortunately,
that's all right.
That used to be my ambition, was to be able to fall asleep in zazen.
Yeah.
Well, it turned out to be not all that much fun, and now I'm falling asleep because I'm kind of sleep deprived. I have to get up and pee every 3 hours, and I get up and do whatever. I have a medicine Buddha tanka that a friend of mine, Charles's wife, made for me. She took classes and learned how to do the traditional medicine Buddha thing. And had it mounted beautifully on a nice tanka, and so that's my author background. And so I do bows to that and do kind of meta, what should we say? I guess meditations. I include you.
You what?
You get included quite often. Well, various people. I mainly start with people I know that are having a hard time, like health-wise or something like that. And I'm getting to the age, I'm 82 now, and you must be 80?
77.
77. Well, anyway, I think we both have a few good years left. I'm feeling okay. I'm not ready to go. I don't want to die. I think I'm okay, probably. I've had good health care, from Kaiser, and they gave me great treatment when I had the prostate cancer. That's the best run department I've ever seen at Kaiser. made it as easy as possible. I mean, it was a challenge. It was like go in 5 days a week for a couple of hours for this radiation treatment, but it worked, and they cured that cancer. And I got to there was some kind of fun. I guess there were technicians that would do the actual work while a doctor was watching, and I got to know them quite well. They were kind of fun, and they would play Miles Davis and John Coltrane for me.
Wow, pretty good.
Yeah, and then we had kind of like a little built-in song of the people that were coming about the same time. We'd be sitting there in our hospital gowns, like 3 in a row, sitting across from 3 in a row. And so the same cohort of people, you'd see every day, and you got to know them and, make friends with them. And, they really made it as easy as possible. They even, all I would have to do is drive over there and give my key to this valet parker. Give me free valet. They wanted people to get there on time, and so I did, and it was still a challenge. I think it might have messed up my bladder a little bit. They wanted you to be so full that you had to burst off as soon as your treatment was ready, and release your pee. And I think maybe I didn't have enough water a few times. It might have affected the bladder, is my guess. But there's a treatment for it I may take at some point. So what else is happening?
Hey, I know one thing. You remember when Herman Ihara came to Tassajara?
Oh, sure.
Tell about that, because I remember you remembered. You had things to say about it.
Yeah. I think I told you the story of Suzuki Roshi going up to him at the break in the courtyard, and he put his arm around him and said, "Don't worry so much."
Well, yeah, but we need to know who Herman Ihara was to begin with for that to have any meaning.
People could look him up. Who was it? Was it Loring that introduced him? Or?
Actually, I got him to speak. Herman Ihara was the leading proponent of the Zen macrobiotic diet in the west of America, whereas Michio Kushi was on the East Coast. And he came to Tassajara. And, of course, Loring was a macrobiotic devotee.
Macrobiotic. And my sense was, I remember he said once, "I don't like food fights. I like work fights."
No, he said, "I don't like food trips."
Food trips.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, he said, "I love work trips. I like work trips. I don't like food trips." I just told Suzuki, I went, "Look, a lot of people would like to hear what he has to say, and I have to do it one time." And he said, "Oh, we don't do things like this in Japan, but okay, it's America." You have a different way. He said, teachers don't let other teachers speak in their temple. And they're jealous. And
I was never a macrobiotic person, but Charles and his wife got put on a macrobiotic diet, and she would spend hours every day cooking that kind of diet, and within a week it got their blood pressure down to normal, apparently.
Pretty good. That's impressive. What year? I mean, how recent was that? How old were they?
That was some time ago. I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago.
How old was Charles?
Charles was 76, I believe, when he passed away.
Oh, I didn't realize. I thought he was older. Oh. Oh.
Oh, wait, no, I'm 86. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, 86. And he had like a spot on his lung, and he had liver problems, and a whole bunch of health concerns. It was kind of in home hospice care at the end.
Oh,
He was lucky to have Varek, who's very competent and together in terms of running affairs and doing all the things that Charles was too important to take care of.
Yeah.
He had his own trip.
What did he do? Charles McDermott. Yeah. What did he, good interview too. I did it at Tassajara. Started talking to him. I didn't know him.
I read that. He was an artist, and he had a salon that was great that met once a month at his house. It was wonderful. About maybe 12, 15 people that met once a month in his living room, and so we got some of us already were good friends, but over time everyone became good friends because we would share these experiences in the salon. And Charles was he was maybe a little too much of a purist. He had a thing. He had been kind of picked. He lived in Colorado Springs and was an atheist, and people were picking on him because of that, and he forever resented that, and would try to promote these professional atheists like Daniel did it. And, so Charles always resented the way he was. I think he was going to some kind of like a military academy in Colorado Springs. And anyway, atheism wasn't on the ticket at that school, and I guess atheism is as good a religion as any.
Yeah. I had friends in high school who were atheists. I liked the atheists. I was on more of a mind-only cosmic consciousness trip. In
high school?
Yeah, it's what I grew up with. It's my family. But I always felt more in common with atheists, agnostics, people who didn't believe in fundamentalist or storybook type religion. You know?
I went to Sunday school regularly when I was a kid, and I liked that. But it was more for social reasons. I was either a Methodist or a Presbyterian, depending on where the prettiest girls were, I think. But I was very regular, and I think I would go to the adult lectures, the sermons afterwards, and they always just bored me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Traditional Christian stuff, but I went, and I think I was trying to score brownie points, and this was anyway. It was a good experience, I suppose. But and then I went to these church summer camps too that were good.
Well, at the point that you went to Sokoji and heard Suzuki talk, even though you didn't get much out of it at that time, where had you'd had LSD already?
I had, and I think I went down for 3 days, and remember John Clark, we call him Clark at the time, he calls himself John Clark Mason now. I remember Richard Baker came out, and I was in the Zendo trying to deal with the Oryoki, not doing a very good job. But there was this professor, I think Paul Lee, that was there.
Yeah, sure.
As a guest. And I was sitting, and Richard Baker the next day said, I don't think we're going to have, guests doing okay. I thought it applied to me, and so I started taking my meals out in the courtyard, and I guess that wasn't the intention. But
no, he was talking about Paul. Paul was one of his very best friends.
He was good. I remember some things that he wrote, and anyway, at the end of that period, I remember Richard Baker came up, and he hadn't had time to say anything. He kind of apologized for not having, greeting me when I arrived, and said that if you want to come to training period, you should apply right away. That was about the last thing that was on my mind at that point. But I later got to know Richard, pretty well. I learned a lot from him. He taught me the importance of just, what should I say, ordinary things, ordinary kind of activities in practice. And what else? I remember he gave us a koan of the flag in the wind. Remember that koan?
Yeah.
And
but please refresh my memory.
Well, these two monks are arguing, and one saying, "Oh, the flag is moving," and the other one said, "No, it's the wind that's moving." And the smart one says, "No, it's the mind that's moving."
Right.
I couldn't get very far with that, but I remember Richard came up to me once and said, "You can't really get away from it," which was a good teaching for me. And so I loosened up about koans. Now my main koan teacher is Barry Magid. You know him?
No, tell me.
He's a psychotherapist, and he's the teacher at the Brooklyn Zen Center.
Oh, right. Now I know.
He's really good. He has written a book. He's written several. Well, one really good thing is he has a book called "Ending the Search for Happiness."
That's good.
Which is dealing with looking always for something other than what's there,
right?
Rather than noticing what's there. And but he's written a lot of stuff about the psychology of koans. There's a book called "Nothing Is Hidden" that I recommend highly. That talks. He goes through the koan curriculum and takes a look at the psychological aspects. And he's a postmodern psychoanalyst, not post-Freudian.
Yeah.
And I guess Bloomberg, and there's some others that he talks about. He also talks about the concept of thirds. Are you familiar with that?
Mm-mm.
Thirds is it's kind of hard to explain exactly. You kind of have to get the hang of it, but it's not a compromise, but it's a way of looking at something from 2 points of view at the same time.
Where's the third?
The third is, that's just the name of this process of holding 2 points of view at the same time in your consciousness. It's just a term that they use, but anyway, he's really good. I really recommend this book, "Nothing Is Hidden," which goes through the whole, koan curriculum, and he talks about, among other, one of his insights is that he feels that both in psychotherapy and in Zen practice, people come to it thinking something's wrong with them, and the practice is going to fix it. And so he very much tries to dissuade people from, thinking that. You just do it as a pure practice, and more like Suzuki Roshi's teachings. And he's very familiar with Suzuki Roshi's teachings as well.
Yeah. Now, is the Brooke? Maybe I'll ask him to do a podcast, because I am. Once you started saying who he was, I went, "Oh yeah, I am." Is that Zen Center? Is that the one that Tia Strozer founded, or is it another Brooklyn Zen Center?
Well, he was a student of Charlotte Joko Beck.
Oh yeah, all right.
I think he calls it Ordinary Mind Zen Center. And it's in Brooklyn, and he's had quite advanced, he's had, monastic experience, and, he's really, done real Zen practice in a serious way. And I think that's, for me, a good teacher. But that book, Nothing is Hidden, is especially good. But the sense that people think that the practice is going to fix it for them, I think that was helpful for me to get a little bit beyond that, and just accept that this is how it is right now. And one definition is mindfulness, I thought was pretty good, is this is how it is now. I wonder what will be next. Anyway, I recommend. He came to the Berkeley Zen Center one Sunday morning. I didn't really know who he was, and he was having a lox and bagels breakfast and coffee, or no, I guess cappuccinos. And I didn't know who he was. I didn't particularly want to get up on Sunday morning, and I didn't go to this thing. But that was probably pretty wonderful. But at the time, I didn't realize who he was. But do check out Nothing is Hidden, and go to his website. He has lots of talks too. I guess he and Norman Fisher and Peter Coyote are my main teachers these days.
Oh yeah, that's quite a triumvirate there.
Well, they're all pretty wonderful in their own way. Peter's especially. He was an old friend at. Before he got into Zen practice, I knew him at Zen Center when he thought he was very not into the formal aspect of Zen, and plus it was uncomfortable, and he was used to this complete. The myth of complete freedom that he got from the diggers and the hippies.
Yeah, right.
He has a lot of interesting reflections on the 60s and the way we romanticized things. And he was a digger, and he would give free food in the park. He was, I think his parents were diggers or communists. Or
no. They were left wing, but they weren't diggers.
Yeah, very, very left wing. And so he got that from his parents, and later became quite natural to him. And I like his talks a lot. He's training another good friend of mine. Do you remember Judy Gilbert?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, she's. She was when I was working in the dining room. She was the guest student I always tried to get, because would pick it up, right away.
Yeah. She is an eager beaver.
Plus, she was fun.
Yeah,
she was fun, and I always enjoyed Timmy. And we later went to a retreat, a week-long retreat with Thich Nhat Hanh at the Mount Madonna Center. I'd helped to edit Being Peace a little bit with Arnie and Therese.
Oh, really? My.
Yeah, that was fun. And we did the best. I was never very satisfied. I was picking, Zen mind, beginner's mind as the model, and I never felt we kind of got there. And we didn't have any feedback from him. We were just on our own to try to figure out, what to do. But anyway, as a kind of thank you, they gave me this week-long retreat at Mount Madonna Center, and I got to, hear him talk, and just to hear his voice. And he would take us out on these half-mile walks after lunch often. I was surprised at how fast he would walk. But he was also encouraging people just to drop out and go smell the flowers and just do something else if it seemed pertinent. And so I had a great time at that. And then also I was able to introduce my friends Maxine Hong Kingston and her husband Earl to that practice, and she really took to it, and still do that quite seriously. It kind of changed their life, I think. And but I was impressed that there were about 100 people there, who most of whom had never done anything remotely like this in their life, and yet it was simple enough, and they would sit for maybe, I don't know, certainly not more than a half an hour, probably 20 minutes at a time, and lots of walking breaks. And but I remember just hearing his voice and going out walking with him, and he was at the time he was kind of having people sing these sort of syrupy, sweet songs that I didn't much take to, but I went along with the practice. And I didn't actually get I was hoping to have like some like Dokusan with him, but Arnie said that he just felt he couldn't do that, so I never got to do that kind of personal meeting with him. But his talks were personal enough that even with a large room, you really got his voice, and he is such a sweet voice and manner. And I put I think on my Facebook post a post called sort of like "A Cloud Never Dies," after he passed away. And anyway, Maxine really got it. They went to his place, wherever it was in
France.
I guess in Vietnam. Yeah, it was in France.
In France, that's Plum.
Yeah, it was
Plum Village.
Yeah, Plum Village. Yeah. So Maxine and Earl went there. I never went there, but they enjoyed that and got to know him. But it was a wonderful experience to sit with him and just to hear his voice. And the main thing I got from him was to allow a smile to come up over your face and your whole body.
Yeah.
And at that time, I remember a good friend of mine pointed out, "Oh, you never smile," which I think I was kind of like Richard Baker at that time. I was being overly serious and wouldn't allow myself to smile. But so Thich Nhat Hanh taught me how to not place the smile, but just allow the smile to come up over your whole face and body and envelop you. And that was probably the best teaching I got from him. I still find it useful. I think that, and when I was in San Antonio, when I was in the second grade, I had a cousin that was a Catholic, and he thought it would be a good idea for me to go to this Catholic military academy for 6 months. And it wasn't my cup of tea at all, but I wasn't Catholic. And anyway, he thought I would get something out of it. There was this wonderful, sweet nun, that Sister Emmanuel Paul, who was so beautiful. It wasn't exactly sexual, but there was. I was in love with her, and I felt that she was in love with. But she had this wonderful smile, and she would bring this smile out for me. And the high point of my week was to have a 30-minute piano lesson with her. and she was wonderful, as opposed to Sister, what was her name, Marie Rose, who would pull your ears, and she was the disciplinarian. And, anyway, I did that, and the boxing was part of the curriculum, and I got into that, and I performed in a big public stadium in San Antonio, like as the warm up for some serious boxers. And
boxing? You did boxing?
Yeah, that was part of the curriculum there. But I made a deal with my boxing partner that I wouldn't hit him in the nose if he wouldn't hit me in the ear. And we honored that. But beyond that, I just pummeled the shit out of him. My uncle was in the front row, kind of egging me on, and I didn't ever hit him in the nose, but I was pretty merciless in terms of pounding on him, and I won this Golden Glove. It was a paperweight champion, and it's on a little red, white, and blue ribbon. Got saved someplace or another. So I was, for that year, I was the paperweight champion.
Wow.
And anyway, I never really liked boxing, and never, got into it later. It wasn't my cup of tea. And let's see. So where are we?
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you have any memories of Suzuki Roshi?
Of course, yeah.
Well,
I've told you a lot of them already in that interview that we did. But
what, you want me to read your interview into the podcast?
Well, if you want to copy stuff out later, you're free to do that. Well, what I remember, as I say, that my first experience was coming with Charles to sit in the back of the room and sit among all the shoes, and then sit in that circle with him. And I liked him. I didn't get a whole lot out of his talk, I don't think, but I did like him, and he was very friendly. And I remember later I was able to help him move a rock out of what became called Cabarga Creek.
Oh, yeah.
There was a huge rock that Jeff Sherman and I think Alan Marlowe and Suzuki Roshi were trying to get this huge. It's the most prominent rock in what's now Suzuki Roshi's garden. It's about I don't know, maybe 5 feet high. You know the one I'm talking about?
In his garden, where his cabin was.
It's by the Doksan hut. I don't know what's there now, but at that time that was his room. Yeah. And so it took us the longest time. We would make it, we would move a couple of inches and it would move back. And I was privately thinking, why don't they just get a winch? Get this, but I was happy to work with Suzuki Roshi, and I was at the same time I was trying to show off, and I was showing how I appreciated the form of the rock, and pointing, and he was just totally ignoring the whole afternoon. But later he shocked me. He came up and bowed to me in the most sincere way and said, "Thank you so much for helping us this afternoon." I was so stunned I didn't even bow back. I was just I stood there just, and I remember I think I told you about this. I later had this dream where he's in you remember the creaky floor of the old Zendo?
Yeah.
I think it was like heat and cold expansion, and I was night watch, or I was
you were Jikido.
Jikido. So I was sleeping in the Zendo at that very last spot, and I don't think I was able to sleep at all, but I heard these footsteps coming in. Somehow I knew it was Suzuki Roshi. I could just tell from his footsteps, and he gets up on the altar, and at this time it was a kind of imagine the light from a stove burner when it's on blue, and it was now kind of a very dim light, but kind of bluish.
Yeah.
And he got up on the altar, and as he turned around, his robes became engulfed in flames, and it became bright, bright orange all of a sudden. And there was this, what would you call, Mandalore of flames around him. And he very calmly, it was sort of a little bit scary, but I thought, well, this is Suzuki Roshi. So I walked up to the altar, and he looked down at me and very calmly said, it is not necessary to bow in this situation. I thought that was pretty wonderful. But I took photographs of him. Remember Jeff Broadbent?
Sure.
Yeah, well, he and his wife, I think Gretchen, maybe. I took photographs of that wedding, and I took a couple of very good photographs of Suzuki Roshi. One was when he was bowing at the altar, and I caught it just right. And then the other was when he was put his hand over the ashes, container, and he was just, putting the ashes there. But somehow I just caught those moments just right. And later, I remember we were in the dining room, and I was fumbling around. You remember those high, very high, kind of yellowish, high back chairs that were in the dining room at one point?
Mm-hmm.
They were very tall. They were taller than he was when he was sitting there. But they were, formidable, expensive chairs. And I was sitting at his feet, trying to find a time to take a photograph of him. But I remember he looked just so beat that I didn't have the heart to ask him to, pose for a photograph at that time. But I already had these, two good ones. But that photograph of him, it's on the cover of Not Always So. There's a close-up of it.
Uh-huh.
I think it was, let's see, what was that woman's name? As a woman student of his.
Rowena? Petit.
Yeah, that was her. She took the photograph that I had always wanted to take of Suzuki Roshi, and that photograph on the book is as a close-up of his face from that photograph, and that was the photograph I'd always wanted to take, but she did it. And what else do I remember? I remember Covichino was very wonderful and friendly. When I was there for 3 days, staying in the Clark Mason's room. And Coben took us on a hike, I guess a couple of us, up by the horse pasture and then down to the Narrows and then back all the way up. And I remember him, at some point, he did an imaginary archery thing and shot up at this bird, and you could tell he hit his mark. He had this big smile, and he was very friendly and soft. I remember later I got to know him better at the Berkeley Zen Center, and I remember someone asked him he came for a weekend to give kind of a zazen kai and give doksan, and some person asked him how he could kind of harness his desires, and he said, "Well, I'm sorry for you because life is just desire from head to toe."
Mm.
And then someone else asked him what it's like to be a Zen master, and he says, "People are always trying to give you their shit."
That's great.
Anyway, he was great. I was glad I got to know him. He had one of my friends became a student of his at Chikoji, and got to read or hear a lot of his lectures later on that I thought were pretty wonderful. And let's see what else. Because I wasn't really able to. I took the precepts from and Jukai ceremony from Suzuki Roshi, and he gave me this fancy name, Daigen Dogen, as kind of a koan, I think. And he did this on my Roxu. He did this beautiful calligraphy that has the robe chant, which I assume was to remind me to do this practice every day and on each moment. But beautiful calligraphy, and same little, what's it called, Kechimacho?
Kechimiyaku.
So I have those. I remember there was a pretty large group getting Jukai. I think it might have been it was the last one, I think, before he died. There might have been as many as 50 people in that group.
Oh yeah, that's 71.
Yeah, it was just not too long before. It was in August of that year.
Yeah,
and so I was well back in the room because so many other seniors were ahead of me, and I never really got to talk to him about that because, the senior students were the only ones that were getting to see him at that point. So I never heard his story about why he picked that name for me.
Well, you were as senior as a lot of them. You were just not pushy. That's all.
No, there were many people who had been at Zen Center long. I think, who was that artist? He was the first person. I can't remember his name.
Well, Bill McNeil was the first.
Who?
Bill McNeil. Oh, you're talking about Bill Kwong or Mike Dixon or
Mike Dixon. Yeah. It was Mike Dixon, and he was ever the first person, and so because I wasn't able to talk to Suzuki Roshi, I had good relationships with Katagiri and got to know him quite well. So I would see him because I wasn't able to see, and he gave me lots of helpful advice. I remember I was into astrology at the time, and he took me aside one time and said, "Well, astrology may be true, but it won't help you solve your essential life problems." And that stuck with me. And then later, when Mel went to be director at Tassajara, and he left me kind of in charge as the kind of manager of the old Berkeley Zendo on Dwight Way.
Oh, yeah.
And that was fun. I got to, he would come by occasionally, and fortunately there would be, right after we had done like all day, work session. So things were looking really spiffy, and he was impressed at how, good things were. It was very easy to get people to help at that time and place. And I was a little bit too much into trying to run the whole thing rather than, refer to other people and, let other people help me. But that was just, my trip at that time. And I think I later learned about that. And I think Mel actually taught me a little bit about that too. But so Mel would come. I would usually take him. I remember one time we went to this wonderful Mexican dinner, and then I took him to this movie. Do you remember Werner Herzog, the filmmaker?
Of course.
Well, it was a film of Herzog's at the Film Archive that night. I mean, it was really weird. It was called Where the Green Ants Are, and even by his standard, it was pretty weird. And I remember it sort of blew Mel's mind, and kind of he didn't quite know what to make of it. I was putting it in the context of other films of Herzog's. He was one of my favorite filmmakers at the time. Remember Caspar Hauser?
Oh, yeah.
And Aguirre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he was great. I had it arranged to, when I was living at Jeff Sherman and his girlfriend and Molly were in Blanche and Lou's house on the Shattuck. We were sharing that space.
Yeah.
And at any rate, Katagiri came. No, I guess that was a different time. Yeah, he came to the Berkeley Zendo to do this weekend sitting, and you ever his friend Yokoi Roshi? It was his friend and mentor from Japan. And
Yokoi? Huh.
Yokoye.
Yokoi.
He and Katagiri were very interested in what was going on at the free speech movement. And so I took them on campus to a tour of that, and they were really into that. I told them what I knew of it, and it was nothing much was happening on that occasion, but they could see sort of the remnants, and a lot of people were still around, and they were very interested in that social protest movement.
That's interesting.
And, yeah, Yokoi, he gave me this wonderful.
Yokoi, yeah.
Yeah, he gave me those little what do they call those little placards that have Zen inscriptions on them. They're about 18 inches by 12 inches, white.
Yeah.
So he gave me one of those that had one bright pearl on it. And that was a pretty good teaching, I thought, for me. And this is all very ad hoc. I'd gone to Zen Center to, I think, hear Richard Baker give a lecture. No, it was Silas. He was, I remember Silas was good because he was good at pointing out. I was very much into Don Juan at that whole time, and he pointed out not to allow Don Juan's head to be put on top of my head, and that was a good teaching for me. And he was a good teacher for me, and I loved his daughter. His daughter was wonderful to photograph in the creeks. She used to call me Picture Man. She was really great to photograph.
Amber.
Amber, yeah, she was wonderful. She had this wonderful little smile with her lip would kind of come up over her teeth, and she was quite wonderful and beautiful. And she used to call me Picture Man. So Silas gave me some good teachings, I think. And what else was I thinking about? Yeah, I guess I was able to dispense with. I was much taken with the Castaneda thing, which was probably all made up from reading.
I don't know. Later. It's pretty hard for me to imagine making all that up.
Well, I think there probably wasn't actually a Don Juan. It was a confluence of a lot of teachers. And
I can believe that. But it seemed like a very profound tradition he was.
Oh yeah, no, it was authentic enough, and but it didn't suit me ultimately as well as Suzuki Roshi's teachings. And
what were they?
Pardon?
Suzuki Roshi's teachings. What were they?
What was that? It was just Zen mind, beginner's mind, and this is it. Do you remember one summer I'd been taking a lot of photographs of Tassajara, and this. Do you remember Aperture, the magazine, and it was kind of the preeminent fine photography place at the time. And the editor, Michael, came down as a guest, and I got to know him, and he liked some of the photographs I had taken of Tassajara, and he proposed doing a book, which I think would have been really good. There are a lot of historic photographs of Tassajara that were available, and he was wanting to put those old black and white photographs and some of my own color photographs in a book, and have Gary Snyder write an introduction and commentary. And of course, Baker Roshi couldn't stand that. He put the kibbutz. One was having Gary do it, and I think he felt that we were indebted to Robert Boney to let him be the photographer because he'd been so helpful. And for whatever reasons, I never, maybe it's personal, or I thought Robert Boney was a very fine, photographer of that style, but this editor wasn't so fond of him, and he proposed this other book, but mainly it was having Gary Snyder write it instead of Richard Baker do it. Anyway, it crashed on the shores of Zen politics, and so there never was a book. That would have been quite a good book, I think. And it would have been well promoted. At the time, Aperture was the preeminent fine photography magazine and location. And so this guy had proposed that I come and be an intern at Aperture for 6 months of the year and be Minor White's assistant for 6 months. The rest of the year. Yeah, that was. I met him at Tassajara. He was doing Polaroids. I remember watching him, and I asked him, "Are you doing like preliminary studies of something you're doing later?" And I remember he said, just really straightforward, "No, this is it," which I thought was a pretty damn good reply. So I was supposed to go meet him at. I think he was appearing at the old, what was it? The old San Francisco Museum of Fine Arts. Maybe it was at the Asian Museum. Yeah, before it got moved to the present location. And I was supposed to meet him that night, but it turned out he got sick and didn't show up, and was really too sick to let that happen. And I really didn't want to leave Zen Center that much, although that would have been a nice opportunity.
Yeah. The first photographer that did photographs for us in the Tassajara area was Morley Bear. Oh,
yeah. I know who you mean.
Yeah, his son Josh, I got to know in Santa Fe. Anyway, he did the photographs for the first Zen Center fundraising brochure that was actually for to buy the horse pasture before a deal for Tassajara had been worked out.
Yeah, I had a copy. That was very well. I think Richard Baker and was it maybe Rowena Pate or
no, Rowena was later.
Pardon?
Rowena was later.
No, it was who's the student that died of cancer?
Trudy Dixon.
Trudy Dixon, yeah. I think she actually probably did more editing than Richard Baker, is my guess. But
of what? Of the brochure?
Of everything. I think of Zen Mind Beginners, those talks as well.
Well, yeah, she's credited. She's credited as the editor of Zen Mind Beginner's Mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Richard did some, and
he worked on it a lot. He's actually an uncredited editor. He should have been.
Really?
It should have been edited by Trudy Dixon and Richard Baker. He was very involved with it.
Yeah. Well, Richard was a good. I don't know. Philip always thought that Richard's writing was a little bit. What do you call it? Prolix. Philip was kind of wild in his writing.
Yeah.
Put everything in the pots and pans and the soup and the vegetables all in the poem. And it was really well done. I think I saved a copy. It's among all these things that are in storage someplace probably, but it was very well done. It was very successful as well.
You don't happen to have a copy of that brochure, do you?
I believe I do, but it's in storage.
God!
And I don't know how I'm ever. I have this place that I rent for like $14 a month, a space that a friend of mine. I've never even been there myself, but I had this studio, and I was moving. I don't know. Did I tell you? I fell and broke my neck in a couple of places.
When?
Oh, like 5-6 years ago.
Oh, sorry.
I tripped. I was stupid. I was trying to cut corners. I had 6 heavy bags I was carrying. I should have made 2 trips from the car, and I was trying to cut corners, which is often stupid. And I tripped over the door sill and fell flat on my face. It made a bloody mess. But the main problem is I broke my neck in 2 places, and so I had to go to this neck surgeon, and that got repaired. Okay, the bloody mess on my face was okay. That kind of cleared up. But I was just trying to cut corners, and that was just stupid. I should have made 2 trips. And that put my life on a whole different path, actually. And I love that little studio on Marin. It was a lower basement studio, but it was at ground level. But the windows were at ground level, and there was a unit. My landlords lived.
Where in Marin?
It was right below Calusa. It was a 1700 block of Marin.
Marin, what
Marin
city?
Avenue. Marin Avenue in Berkeley.
Oh, I didn't know where you were talking about. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I lived there for quite a few years.
I thought you were talking about Marin County.
No, I rarely have been. I like Marin County, but I haven't been there very often. I could easily live there. Isn't the proposed living, the retirement place? I've applied to that. I don't think I'll be able to afford it, but it looks like a good situation that may open in a couple of years. And
very impressive. I don't know. I think it might be open before then. It's up in Healdsburg, isn't it?
Is it Healdsburg? It's some nice place. I've seen photographs of it,
but
I don't think I'll be able to afford it.
No.
I don't have any high hopes.
Oh yeah, it's going to be expensive
unless I win the lottery, and I haven't been buying lottery tickets. They say if you buy a ticket, it helps your chances of winning. Do you believe that?
Well, yeah, but not if you round off to the nearest, million or whatever.
I usually I actually won like $1,500 once. I would play the lower, I think it was called Fantasy 5. Yeah, it had smaller jackpots, but better chances of getting something. I would win like $17 there and $15. But one time I won $1,500, which was pretty cool, and I was able to. Anytime I played thereafter, I was playing on their money, so to speak. I used to study statistics. I tried to calculate what's called the expected value. Like if you buy a ticket, what are you expected to get back? And I figured the return value was something like about 45 cents if you bought a $1 ticket.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's much worse than Vegas. I mean, some Vegas places or Reno places will advertise 93% return or something like that. Yeah,
well, especially if you're counting cards, they don't let you do that much anymore. I learned to do that.
You can't counting cards; they kick you out.
Well, yeah, but I was at the very early part of that. I learned to do that when that system first came out, the Thorpe system, and I memorized it. A friend and I took a Greyhound up to State Line, and I stayed up all night.
Playing blackjack.
Playing blackjack, counting cards, and at the time, they weren't shuffling up multiple packs, and they weren't.
Yeah.
I had a way of disguising. I didn't make my moves so predictable, but I did win $1,500. And I remember when I was in the Cub Scouts, it was Boy Scouts. I was in this Mormon troop in Los Angeles, and the Scoutmasters took us up to Tahoe for a week, which was really amazing. We had a great time, but the bad boys would sneak off across this field and sneak into the casinos for like 10 minutes before we got kicked out, and never had a chance to win anything. And that was a great experience. This Mormon troop was really wonderful. The men that were the fathers of their sons that were part of the troop were really into doing a lot of wonderful things, but especially that week at Tahoe. I had a very good experience with Mormons. They were not proselytizing at all to me.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Mormons. There's good things, bad things. It depends on what your relationship is. Where you live, who you are, and that sort of thing.
Right. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well.
Anyway, so
they take care of themselves, and they were the first major American church to come out against nuclear weapons.
Yeah. Well, they were pretty progressive in many ways. I remember, but anyway, so I had a good experience with that scout troop, and that was fun. And what else? Where are we? We're going back to Zen.
Yeah.
World. Memory. You're asking about memories. I guess. I had memories of Katagiri and Suzuki-Roshi and Koban, and also. You remember Sung Song Nim?
Oh, the Korean teacher. Yeah.
Yeah. You were. What happened? I saw him walking down in this gray robe, and I figured out who he was coming from the parking lot with an American or Caucasian student, both in gray robes, and I was pissed off at all the other officers because they had been hard. I remember Jake, the artist, who would be always hitting on women.
Jake Fishman.
Yeah. My first experience of going to Kasahara was riding in the back of a pickup truck with, I think, Harriet, and with Jake. And so I got to know him, and we had this, relationship. But all the other officers thought they needed to kick him out because he was, irredeemable.
I saved him. I saved him. He got in a lot of trouble when I was director, and I'd protect him. Yeah, he was doing outrageous stuff.
Most of the officers at that meeting were really down on him, and I was pissed off at him. So I went and met Sung Song, and he wanted to go to the Ashes site. So I kept him to myself for the afternoon. And I think I told you I was going off with this honesty, but I did it in such a way that I wasn't inviting much, hit eyes on, and I think it went right by you. And so I took him up to the Ashes site, and then we came back and we had lunch. I remember he tried to do oyoki cleanup on the plate in the dining room, which was sort of charming. I thought it was sort of funny. But do you remember those wonderful cowls that J.B. Blunk had put outside of the office? They were sort of like thrones, and they were cows that.
What word are you using?
Well, I was calling them cowls.
How do you spell that?
COWL. That's just in my term.
What does it mean?
I don't know. Well, it means, I think it comes from old English monastic practice. It would mean the robes that the monastic would, put over their heads in the old days, I think.
And J.B. Blunt brought like robes?
Well, he made these benches.
Yeah.
They were thrones, basically, and they had a curved red, and it made this wonderful light, and I got this fabulous photograph of him. He just allowed me to, it's probably the best photograph of him ever. I have to get copies of him because I know some students of his that would appreciate it. But
I would too. I'd love to see it.
Okay. It's in my slide collection, but I might have it online. I'll look and see if it's online. I think I have a whole collection of slides.
Well, get in touch with me, but let's talk about that later. All right?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Anyway, so I think you might enjoy. But I would say it's just the light is so wonderful, and his face just lights up. I've got to get. Do you remember Denise Forrest?
Denise who?
Forrest.
Denise Forrest.
She was at the Berkeley Zen Center. She was a student of his, and I'd like to get a photograph, a print for her. And, she sort of was a lay teacher in that tradition, but she has a sort of ultra feminist twist on everything that kind of got in the way of reality, I think. But she's a very sweet person.
What sort of teacher?
Well, like I think she was authorized to lead groups in that, Sangha.
What Sangha?
The Korean Sangha.
Oh. I was still on J.B. Blunk.
No. He was just the creator of that throne.
Then you got a photo of
Sun.
Yeah, well, you just said him, so you were talking about J.B. Blunt. I thought you had a photograph of J.B. Blunt. Oh, no, I see.
Did I ever? I don't know if I ever. I took a lot of photographs of his work. I remember he and Christine were sort of mentors to me, and I think he was kind of urging me to kind of push back against Richard Baker a little bit.
About what?
About everything. Just not be totally bowled over by everything that Richard said.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't making a big deal. He didn't have an axe to grind with Richard or anything. But I think it was a helpful, pointer for me. But I loved his work. I remember he made those things for greens too, which.
Oh yeah, major installation in greens.
Yeah, that was a major fuck up as far as I was concerned. I was being a guest server, and I got to be pretty good at Tassajara, and I was kind of proud of that. And it was Renee who was kind of in charge that day, and I was kind of showing off how I could handle these big trays, and I was used to going at Tassajara with the screen that would go in, and this was a door that moved, out. The door hit the tray and knocked everything akimbo, and so that was a bad start. And then later, I was trying to serve on. They had these kind of high at the bench tables. There was kind of like a high piece that stuck up about 18 inches.
Right.
And people would be putting like glasses of wine on it, and I knocked over one of those. And it was the sum total was that I felt that it was a horrible day for me. I never went back. I felt. I wasn't. I would have been allowed to go back, but I just was so embarrassed.
Oh, you mean that was your only day of being a server at Greens?
That was my only day. Part of the problem was there was this one woman who I think she actually was kind of fond of me, and I wasn't reciprocating, but she was in charge of moving out the plates for lunch, and she had me cleaning the silverware in this emulsion, which made my hands very slippery, and then she would want me immediately to carry out the plate, and you'd have to take time to wash the emulsion off and dry your hands off, and she was giving me a very hard time, I remember, about that. And then, as I say later, some guests had put their wine glasses up on these high things, and I knocked them off. And so I was just totally embarrassed and didn't try to go back.
Yeah.
But also, I think the Whole Earth store was also starting at that time, and I was more into doing that with Dan Welch. And that was a fun experience.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't have any further thoughts right now. And
well, you've had many interesting thoughts.
Oh, well, good.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it, man. It's been it's been a trip into many mansions.
Well, many byways. Anyway,
yeah.
I've had fun, and I'm glad to hear from you. And always like to see what you have on Facebook. And let's see. I'm doing less of that these days, but I do some, and there's some people that are so-called friends on Facebook, I sometimes post things that are interesting. Did you see my thing about the music in the last couple of days?
Yeah, the African woman singing.
Fatimata Diawara. She's just great.
Yeah, I listened to it, and I don't take the time to listen to much or read much people send me because I'm always doing things. But I listen to that.
Listen to this. Did you see the film Timbuktu?
I probably not. I don't remember it.
It was set in Mali in the time when there was a kind of a revolution there. And anyway, it's fun. There's a lot of. It's a serious film and beautifully made. One of the most beautifully made films. But anyway, she's actually the most famous singer actress from Mali, and she knew the director and insisted on getting this very small part. But there's a part where she sings secretly at night. The music is outlawed by these fundamentalist outlaws that have taken over the place. And
you mean they've taken it over now?
No, they've been kicked out. This is years ago.
Oh, okay.
But at the time they were running the show, and they were very fundamentalist, and they wouldn't allow music and things like kids playing soccer or normal life. Anyway, it's a beautiful film. But she has this wonderful song in that. But check her out. She's all over the place. But,
well, I did. I listened to that. I probably won't do more. But maybe Katrinka and I can see Timbuktu.
Yeah, you probably have seen the concert for George, haven't you?
George who?
George Harrison.
Oh no, I don't do things like that much. I don't really follow much entertainment or something. It's just Katrinka, whatever Katrinka wants to do. Look, she's the only person.
You would both enjoy this. I guarantee it.
Concert for George and Timbuktu. All right, now I can't remember beyond two things now.
Okay.
If there's anything else, you have to tell me later.
Okay.
I'll tell her that. We'll see it.
Pyland. Okay. Bye for now.
Yeah.
Oh, and happy Thanksgiving.
What?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, happy Thanksgiving. You're not in Thanksgiving yet.
It's a Thursday, isn't it?
Yeah, but you're in Wednesday. I'm in Thursday.
Oh, well. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, I'm in Thanksgiving, and I've got a message here from Katrinka urging me to go to the Riviera nearby Italian restaurant that's having a special Thanksgiving thing, but I don't want to eat a lot of food. If I went over there, I'd have I could go over there and have a salad, but they'd be disappointed.
We'll get some pumpkin pie at least.
No, I think I'll skip that. I think I just have this.
Sorry for you. Well, it probably won't be very interesting where I am. But
if Katrinka was with me, we'd split a pumpkin pie. I mean, when she's in America, I can lose weight. We lost a little. And then I feel better. And so, anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the values of the food not being very good, is I'm fairly trim.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I live with a really good cook who likes to cook.
Yeah.
My idea is, what's going to go bad, I'll eat it.
Well, do the best you can.
Yeah.
Anyway, good night.
Okay. Hey, thanks a lot, Brit. That was great.
Okay. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. So thank you very much, Brit Pyland. And if you want to know more about Brit and his memories of Suzuki and Tassajara and Zen Center and whatever else he said in his interview, you can go to cuke.com and in the site search box, write Brit Pyland, BritPyland. And there's a few things there. He's got a cute page, and one of the links is to his interview. And there's a couple other things there. So, I did want to say, yes, I did go to the Riviera where Katrinka suggested I go for Thanksgiving, but I didn't go to the dinner, which was the big meal. I just walked there with Bondi for lunch, and we walked in a sort of drizzle rain, and I had an umbrella, and it's about a 20-minute walk, and they're very dog-friendly. Any animal, you could bring anything in there, because the Pierre Giorgio and his wife, Chiara, I think, are the owners. And she's got 5 cats in a room in the back, and they've got 5 dogs at home. But I have to keep Bonnie on a leash there because, and I tie it to the leg of the table or to the chair, because if she sees a cat, she'll dart after it. So anyway, I had lobster, crab, scallopini, and a small salad, and a lychee drink, a non-alcoholic lychee drink. That was very nice. There was a couple there eating who had a dog, and then it turned out they had 5 dogs, and I said, well, she's got to meet Chiara, the owner. And but anyway, then Bondi and I walked home. But right after we got there, it started raining like really hard. And we walked home raining really hard the whole time. So that was my Thanksgiving meal. And he said they were absolutely booked up full for dinner, like 60 people, and he was having a choir of 20 come sing. That's interesting. They have music there. So anyway, that's all. Thanks a lot, Brit. And this has been a Cuke Audio podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, coming to you from sleepy Sanur with Doghead Bandita, Feline Cuchita, and dear lovely Katrinka. And we're wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.